we're really looking forward to being able to collectively with everyone to be able to provide this much needed resource to the Arlington community. And so what I'm going to do, because many of you all will probably be reaching out to small businesses and folks who will be taking advantage of the grant. And so what we wanted to do is come to you guys first and say, these are all of the elements. This is everything that we have. This is the requirements that we're looking for. One of the things I also want to say to all of you, since you're all our partners, our collaborators, many of you all are our dear friends, is we also want to make sure that there's open communication. And so if there are any questions that anyone has, or if anyone comes to you with any questions, we want to be able to help you to answer them by going through this presentation, but also to let you all know that we're here as well. Our whole Biz Launch team, all of AED is on standby to help as we launch the grant. So with that, I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the grant, give an overall overview of it, the eligibility that businesses need to have, a bit about the evaluation process as well as the application process, the review, the requirements that we're looking for, and the technical assistance that we hope that you'll be able to help us in providing as we move forward. Now, as I go along, if you have questions, Alex and Lourdes are going to help to answer those questions in the chat box, but we're also going to open it up so you all can participate or ask questions. And we'll try to keep that at the end, but we want to try to get to as many of that as possible. So if in the chat box, if you could let us know your thoughts, or if you have questions, or if something doesn't seem clear at all. So one of the things I was thinking about as we were going through and developing the elements, the multi-elements of the grant program, seeing some of the things that had happened with our friends in the federal space, also some talking best practices with folks in DC and all parts of Northern Virginia and Maryland as well. Is this kept coming to me. Winston Churchill, I don't know, it's that keep calm, quote, but this one really gets to me, is success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. And that's what we need to do collectively as a group. I look at you all as amazing collaborators. Everyone on this call brings such unique expertise and skill. And so together, if we work and we continue moving forward, we will come out of the pandemic in a better way. And so I thank you in advance on behalf of Arlington County, on behalf of our team, AED and Biz Launch. We really appreciate, because we won't be able to do this without your help. And I think we need courage as we move forward. Looking at my next slide, about the grant itself. It's an emergency grant. It is competitive. And we're going to be doing allotments or grant amounts of up to $10,000. Something to keep in mind of where we're a bit different with the grant is that it's not a first come, first serve. It won't be a lottery. Everyone that applies will be evaluated. So when the evaluation ends on May 17th at midnight, everyone that's in the queue will have the opportunity to compete. So this is a one-time funding. It is a grant, it's not a loan. This money, once it's dispersed, that's it. The use of the grant funds, we want it to be as flexible as possible, but some of the areas are retaining and supporting employees, restoring financial resiliency, addressing some of the COVID-19 restrictions that have impacted the ability of the businesses to be able to do what they do, increasing technology capacity to enable alternative work forms. So if someone needs access to computers or to build a Microsoft Teams network for their business, they could use the funds to do so. Creating new marketing campaigns, re-looking at their business plan if they need to pivot what they once were doing. They might have another idea to complement. Like I know a lot of retailers, that we're doing clothing or now pivoting to do masks because there's a huge need in masks. So what can the business itself do to pivot? Also, if they need assistance in making sure that their facilities are clean, you're a restaurant, you need to make sure that you're abiding by the health regulations. And so you may need some help with that. And that's something new and different. Eligibility. We're looking at different pockets. First, your business must be located in Arlington County. You can have one or more locations, including the principal place of business. We want you to have less than 50 employees as of February 29th, and there'll be a very simple form that people can fill out. You must have a 2020 Arlington business license. So we're really not looking for people that have an idea that they want to start a business. We really want you to be in business. And very importantly, no Arlington tax obligations. We want to make sure that you're in a good space with what you owe or don't owe to the county. We're also looking at revenue decline. We're looking to see that there's been a minimum of at least 35% of overall decline in business because of the pandemic. You're going to need to be able to give access to records to the grant administrators, the reviewers, and also to give our Commissioner of Revenue's office access to information to verify what you're saying is accurate and is true. Also, one important aspect is making sure that people fill out the complete application and that they provide all the backup documentation. So you say that you've had a 35% decline, you show that in the records or the paperwork that you're going to be submitting. And just making sure that everything that you're saying to the best of your ability is accurate and it's true. Now, some of the businesses that aren't eligible for this grant are businesses that have been permanently closed. They may have been closed prior to COVID-19. Franchises, but the exception of those that are locally owned and operated. Any type of illegal activities, you're not eligible. And any government entities or those that work closely with government entities or a type of, let me move that out the way, of the Commonwealth of Virginia, any kind of political divisions. Okay. These are the documents that you will need to have as you apply for the grant. You'll need to have a complete application. We're going to be asking for the W-9 form to be filled out. We want to make sure that you sign a waiver so that of confidentiality to make sure that we can access, to make sure that your paperwork is accurate. And also a copy of your 2020 business license certificate and a signed and completed form. Now, once we receive all of the information, the grant evaluation itself, we're going to be looking at the impact on employees. Did you furlough? Did you have to lay off people? Are you trying to retain people? The impact that it's had on your overall business operations and the impact on the Arlington community. Now, for the Arlington community, we're really going to look at that pretty strongly. Were you doing things in the community? Are your business in the community that we really need? Childcare, your dry cleaners, your nail salons, your hair salons, things that we take for granted that are there, but if they were to go away, it would be devastating, particularly when I think of different medical offices. And I know that they have a strong interest in the grant as well, but childcare, different type of resources such as that in the community. The deadline, and I think I alluded to this earlier, is going to be Sunday, May 17th at midnight. We want to make sure, Eastern Standard Time, we want to make sure that everybody gets everything in by then. It will be an electronic submittal. Everything will be done in jot form, and it'll be able to be done on your cell phone or your iPad or a computer. So we tried to make it, we figure most folks have cell phones, so you can take pictures of the application. You can download the applications and easily, just the most easiest process that you could possibly think of. And as part of it, if you forget to include any of those applications, we want to make sure that you don't and that it's submitted. If you submit on May 14th and you realize you need to have another piece or form, you can do so. So just make sure that the application when you're working with clients is complete. So the way the process is going to work is that as the grant administrators begin to review the loan itself, they may make reasonable efforts to reach out to the grantee if they have, or the potential grantee if they have additional questions. There's going to be an internal team of county staff as well as a review panel, external review panel of EDC Commission, as well as our IDA authority members. We've ensured that this has been a very diverse group of people because we know that we're going to see a diverse application pool. So we want to make sure that our equity lens is there. Successful applicants are going to know about their award about mid-June. We want this process to go fairly quickly, but give us enough time to really go through the applications and through the application process. The funds will be electronically distributed after the agreements have been signed and we receive the banking information for the grantees. Around that same time, once all of the funds have been distributed, if you've not been successful in your application process, you will be notified. If someone, for whatever reason, they are awarded the award and then they decide, hey, I was able to get other funds, I don't need this anymore, we don't want to have said to somebody, sorry, you're not getting it. So we want to make sure that all the funds have been distributed. So if there's additional money that's left over, we can increase the pool of applicants. Next, as I move on. So some things to keep in mind as you're working with people and as they're going through the application process, we want to make sure that folks are abiding by county law. Make sure that they understand regulations and policies. We cannot be influenced. I cannot be influenced. No member of the public officials. Like if you say, hey, I'm going to use these funds to help biz launch. No, that's not, that's not good. We're going to make sure that they're used for activities that really benefit the business. We want to make sure too that as much accurate records that the business is providing is there. And there will be a brief final report that will come to us by January 31st. That's going to be required for all grant recipients. We will be translating the documents, the application, and the guideline process in Spanish and Amharic. We're looking at our partners and our friends to provide technical assistance in those languages. We're using JotForm. So we hope to be able to expand the languages into Mongolian. We've checked. It uses Google Translate. We just didn't have the ability to provide technical assistance in those languages. But in case someone has questions as they're filling out the JotForm, they'll be able to translate and to transcribe. We want an open communication process. So if anything goes on, if any of you all have any questions or you have a client that has questions, please feel free. We want this to be an open line. I've basically, and our BizLaunch team, Lourdes and Alex, we've cleared our schedules and our AED team because we want to make sure as we go through this process that folks have information that they need in order to be able to be successful in the process. One thing that came up on a call that I was on yesterday was about mental health. Our friends that are doing the loan in Fairfax County have talked about several people that have been suicidal over the entire process. The business failing and not having enough funds to keep people employed and family issues. So we reached out yesterday to our mental health providers within the county to ask them to assist us to be able to help people in need, because this is definitely a trying time and we want to make sure that we show empathy. This is also why I'm talking a lot about open communication. I want to make sure that everyone that reaches out to us, even if we believe that they're not eligible, that we're keeping the communication open so that people at least feel as if they're being heard. And even if they're unable to not receive the grant for whatever reason, that we don't go away because of that. This isn't for us just here's the money, bye, see you later. No, it's here's the money. This is going to tide you over. What are some of the things that we can do to help you pivot? What are some of the things that we can do to re-strategize what you're doing? And we're not going away. And I think that message will go to people entrepreneurs that receive the grant, as well as entrepreneurs that do not receive the grant. I don't want it to appear like we just walk away. No, we're still here. And also keeping in mind too, we are aware that there may be some mental health challenges that are out there as well. Which leads me to this image and this saying, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Although the terrain may be rocky, once we get over the hill, the things that we see beyond that are beautiful. And in this as a community, we can find beauty together. I want you all to have access to my direct cell phone number as well as my email. I want to make sure that anything that goes on with the grant, any challenges, any questions, we also want to be nimble enough to pivot. So if you need us, please reach out directly to us. I have my email, Alex Held's email, as well as Lourdes Morales. Lourdes will be offering the same content and information in Spanish through BizLaunch in Espanol. And we've reached out to many of our Spanish language providers that are in the region to help us, LADC being one, ECDC, another, to help us in Amharic. So we're very thankful and grateful. SCORE is also going to be working with us as we move through. And so with that, please bookmark our grant information resource page. As soon as the grant goes live, which we believe will be mid next week, we're waiting on now getting our all of the materials back from translation. You all will be the first to know. We will also tag and promote everyone on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. For the general public, please have them call us at our main number, 0808. What we've done as a COVID response is we've done a triage. So you call the main line, we find out what you need, and then we send you directly to the resources. So if anyone has general questions, and we're still helping people to start a business and all of this, and people are starting businesses. And we don't want to lose sight of that as well, but we've been triaging as a group. So feel free to have them directly contact us at our main line. And then last but not least, I know that was a lot of information. And so I open it up to questions that you all may have. And I'm really looking forward on behalf of AED and the BizLaunch team and the county. We're really thankful for you all and appreciate your expertise and help.
Tara, I think there were a couple questions that came through on the chat. And if you don't mind, the first one is from Mary Claire.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that people on the phone heard this as well, if they didn't, if it didn't come across. But the question is, if you have two businesses that are equal in terms of meeting the criteria, how are we going to decide the two, assuming you'll have more applicants who qualify than you can fund?
That is a very good question, Mary Claire, and one that we grappled with. This is where on that last bullet, or I'm trying to remember the slide where we talked about Arlington community impact, each of the different questions that are part of that application process. So if the business tells a compelling story about what the grant means to them, and also different weights, looking at equity lens, looking at the number of employees retained, that will all be factored in.
And then, Tara, Kim also asked how many applications we thought we might receive. I think it's all about managing expectations. The Pike CPRO is kind of working with a lot of businesses who've gotten PPP. Some are trying again. Some have tried for workforce grants. I think, she's wanting to know if, what are the chances and if it's worth applying for this program.
Anytime anyone has free money, apply. That does not come around very often. My philosophy on this is that we want more to apply than not. That's why we need your help in making sure that the folks that need the most help have assistance as part of the application process. Looking back now, we know the challenges that our federal friends have experienced. Also, we've been talking closely with our friends in Washington, D.C. I don't think this pandemic, any amount of money is going to be enough. But it's what you do collectively as a community to be able to help everyone, but in a very decisive way. And I think that's why
Tara, I think you might have frozen a little bit.
Yeah, she did.
Hold on a second.
Sometimes if you turn your video on and off, that'll help to like jog it.
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm sorry, everybody. It dropped me again. I'm glad I got the presentation. But as I was saying, we're gonna take all the applications. Our interest right now, I think we've received about 1,200 requests from people, and we're just gonna take as many applications as we possibly can.
Cool. And Tara, Mary Claire and Tracy kind of asked similar questions. Mary Claire's asking, can we publicize the start date yet? Or is that?
We're still waiting on the start date. We're hoping that it's going to be mid next week. We'll have further clarity once I hear back from the translators, because that's the one piece that we definitely want to get up. And we finalized all of the documents late last night. And I've shipped those out to the translators. So this group definitely will be the first to know when it goes live or when we're about to turn it on.
Okay. I think that answered Tracy's as well. So
okay,
we'll reach out to you all when the date is final and we're ready to rock and roll. So, but cool. Any other questions? Oh, I think Eddie asked, how is the grant amount determined?
So when the individuals fill out the application itself, they can self-determine. Some things that we noticed with other grant applications was that some people really didn't need much in the terms of funding to retain employees in particular. So you can self-select how much you believe that you would need, and it's going to be done in different increments, but the max amount that you can request is 10,000.
Yeah, trying to give a little everybody. So, okay. Well, does anybody have any further questions? For those on the phone, I will follow up with to everyone that was on the chat. So you get a recording of and the presentation as well. So you get the recording. To answer Samantha's question, thank you for asking. So the Boston Bid is asking, can we be promoting that this is coming and to stay tuned on a launch date, or do you want us to stay quiet on this coming until you know the launch date? I would say go ahead and have people, I sent the link of the grant information page on our website. There's a sign up form. Feel free to promote the heck out of that if you want to. Sign up for learn more information. We're doing a webinar with the Chamber on May 5th that is free to attend. So you also get a chance to learn, businesses will get a chance to learn how to apply, what required documentation. It's a very similar presentation for this as well. So if you're all welcome to do that, I will also send the information about the webinar on May 5th as in a follow-up as well, but it's going to be from
And
11 to
May
noon.
6th, we have the Biz Launch in Espanol webinar as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
I wanted to add that. And it's everything in our website for people to register.
So I hope that, and I can follow up with everyone after that that was on this meeting, so you have all that. Tara, Scott's asked, is there a formula or limit under the 10K amount? For example, something based on revenue or loss or payroll, or can any business request any amount up to $10,000?
Any business can request any amount up to 10,000. They want to tell a compelling story, especially if it's at the max amount. I would figure based on some of the weights and how the application will work. And if you're right at a 35% and most of everyone else is at 90%, the likelihood of you getting the 10 grand isn't as high. So, just making sure that what you put in the application aligns with the amount that you're asking for.
Hello, Tara. This is Ted.
Telly.
I just joined from our ELT meeting, so I apologize.
Hi,
But
thank you.
if you all need me to add clarity for any of our participants, please let me know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here.
And does anybody else have any further questions or
I just have a
comments?
comment.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to congratulate the team. I can only imagine what this took to stand this up in this amount of time. I mean, this is not easy stuff. And so I just wanted to congratulate you guys. It's well thought out, it's well done, and I think it's going to be really impactful for the community. So congratulations.
Oh,
Hopefully
thank
you.
get a little bit of rest this weekend, but it's very exciting.
It means
Thank
so much
you.
to us. Thank you.
Amy McWilliams, what are the total number of businesses you are hoping to help? I think to say we have about 6,600 small businesses in Arlington that could qualify. I could see that every single one of those businesses apply. In my personal view, Tara, what are your
Yes.
thoughts on metrics?
So we're thinking that we'll get between 250 to 300 to apply. It's always the interest number was about 1,200. So take a percentage because you do have to have some documentation and some things, and it takes some effort. So my thought is, well, at the end of the day, though, all things considered, whether the application is incomplete or complete, we'll probably get about 1,000, a minimum. I would suspect, Amy. I can't. And we are planning to do things for folks that don't receive the grant, because I think that's also very important, because we know the need is high, but we want to be able to put some things in place that can really benefit people. Oh, there's Telly.
Kelly.
If I could just add on
Yes.
the part of the review committee, particularly the third review panel, we want to hear input from them as they represent private sector individuals. We want to hear input from them on whether it makes sense to, let's say at the end of the day, if we have 300 highly qualified companies who are all deserving, that all want $10,000, and we only have enough to fund 100 of them. One of the questions becomes, do we rank them and only give the top scoring 100 grants, or do we do some percentage of proration such that everyone gets a piece? I do believe there is a point of no return as far as, if we prorate so much so that the amount of grant awards are no longer meaningful to the applicants. I think we've done a bit of a disservice, but should we, I've administered programs before where, there have been prorations of say like 80 to 90% of what your request is, so that we can stretch the money to a larger group of businesses. I don't want AED making that decision itself.
Yeah.
That I want input from our review team, which is why we have members of both the IDA and the EDC on it. If we'll be having a specific conversation with you, Mary Claire, and with Tracy later about your particular bid contributions. But I'd love to know if any of the review team or the viewers today have any feedback for the review team on that.
Okay.
Crickets.
Crickets, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it's not an easy decision. It's definitely
No.
Not an yeah, it's definitely not an easy consideration. And I think you've got it right, Telly, which is that, you don't want to dilute it so much that it's not impactful or meaningful. But at the same time, if there are ways to maybe minimize, for some folks so that it provides a little more for some others. But obviously we'll leave that to your competent hands to figure out, because that's a tough call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary Claire.
Thank you.
Okay, well. if
Any other
there's-
questions? Or?
No other questions.
Oh, great. Well, on behalf of everybody, thank you all so much for your time and your attention. If you do have additional questions, I know this was a lot of information. We're going to share this taping with you all later today and with our friends that couldn't join us. But on behalf of the AED team, Telly Tucker, Alex Hell, Lourdes Morales, I know Cindy Richmond is on the call. We really appreciate each and every one of you. And collectively together, we'll get through this. And thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Happy
Thank you so much.
weekends.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend, everybody.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.